Welcome to the Your Brilliant Difference podcast. It is Finka Yerkovic here, and I'm so glad that you're spending some time with me here today. Now, today we're going to talk all about how to take criticism, judgment, feedback that we may not like, how to take all those things, whether they're coming from other people or the voice in our head, how to actually convert it into confidence, into something useful and productive that you can use in your work and your leadership. So thank you for being here as we dive into this topic. So over the past week, we had left our home here in Ontario and we drove all the way down to Lexington, Kentucky. Three horse moms and all of their horse crazed girls in the car as we drove down to Kentucky to watch. They call it the best weekend ever. It's a Kentucky the Defender 3-day event, and it's an international event. So we had riders, we saw riders from Australia, from the US, from Canada. So it was an incredible event. Horse and rider compete on 3 different disciplines. On the Friday, they did a flat ride, also known as dressage. On Saturday, they went out and I think they did about 5 miles. It takes about 11 minutes for a galloping, cantering, fast horse with their rider jumping over these magnificent jumps that are so high and so scary. And the bravery and the skill and the talent is it's amazing just to watch. So we got to watch that. Then on Sunday, we got to watch show jumping. And so as I was, actively engaged and participating in this 3-day event with my daughter and our friends, I was just like taking in all of this goodness. And I was just so inspired by their commitment to their skills, their excellence, this high level of caliber of talent, skill, perseverance, training, as it comes together into this amazing event that they were able to compete at, as well as the passion and discipline. We all have things we love to do. We all have our own brilliant differences. But what separates athletes and from us that, go to the workplace? Now, I see us, we're a form of athleticism, not in the physical sense, but we can take so much of what we can see, top athletes that are committed to their skill, their talent, their craft, and use it to really harness and look at our brilliant differences in a way that athletes look at their sport. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I was just really inspired about their commitment, their perseverance, their resilience, their passion. That there are 3 lessons that I took away from this experience over the last week that I wanted to share with you, because I do believe that they're going to help you unlock your brilliant difference and really use these gifts, these talents, these skills that you have been innately given. Some of you have yet to even discover them. And how do you unlock them? How do you discover them? And then as an athlete, how do you develop them? How do you up level the skill set? How do you expose yourself to situations and opportunities that can help you, just get better at it, just get better at it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the 3 takeaways ultimately that we're going to talk about is the importance of feedback. And I'll talk a little bit about what I observed at the event. We're going to talk about how to take feedback because it's not always easy. And the last thing I wanted to share with you is that you're not alone on this journey. And to give you something to think about as you embark on stepping more into your brilliant difference, learning to lead with it, learning to sell with it, learning to influence, and learning to really embrace and harness these God-given gifts that you've been given. When I think about athletes, one of the things there's similarities and there are differences. So we're going to talk a little bit about the similarities of, what's similar to, us in the workplace and in our businesses, and then what's different. And so let's call those out first, and then I'll dive into my 3 takeaways. So when I think about the similarities, the first is, we're both looking to excel and deliver our highest and best performance. So that's something we have in common with athletes. Second, we're committed to goals. Either you're striving to achieve a goal in your sales, in your revenues, maybe it's execution of a project, a deliverable to a client, or there are strategies that as you're looking at the next 12 to 18 months that as an organization you want to be delivering on it. So again, we're very goal oriented. There is a start and there's this place there where we are all moving towards. As we are moving towards those goals, there are key performance indicators along the way. So we also have that in common where there are certain metrics and measures that we are using to define yes, we are on track or no, we're not, and then we can get to pivot and adjust. And finally, both of us, whether we're athletes or people in the workplaces or businesses, we're both working and living through very competitive environments. So whether it's a competitor in your marketplace geographically, or as a product solution and service, athletes are, they're on the track, they're on the ball court, where we all have that competitive environment. What's different, and I want you to think about this because also, these differences, even though I want to use these differences of figuring out how can we use this in the workplace? How can we use this in our businesses more overtly? Because we don't always have the same opportunities they do. For instance, you know, they're very invested in their training and their development. That is first and foremost, they are committed to their training. They're constantly developing the skill of their craft. I think about us in the workplace. For many people, if you've gone to post-secondary school, university, college, you've gotten your degree, diploma, and then you kind of land in your job. And then there's like, maybe some professional development that happens in your career. If you get invited to participate in a leadership development program, or if there's certain certifications or accreditations that you need. But most often it's like we got this bulk of our education at the start of our life, from through post, secondary and university and college. But then we get into the workplace and then we're just doing enough to get by, or what's necessary. And so that the same investment in professional development, training, learning, and development of a skill, we lose it. It's like, all right, I learned what I needed to learn and off I go. You think about athletes, they're continually looking to um, improve, get feedback on, figure out the right diet, the right training mix, the right exercises, the right programs. They're continually looking at how do they harness on that and develop the skills that they have that they're going to, play, ride, throw, whatever that sport run that they're doing. One of the other things that are a little bit different from our world in the workplace and in business than it is in the athlete worlds, that they do have some more specific metrics. There are their scoreboards, their rank boards. Like I think about even over the weekend, there was dressage scores, the cross country scores, and their show jumping scores, their timed events. If they got a rail down, we all saw it. In the workplace, if you're running a project, you may, if you met the deadline and the timeline, yes, but there's a whole lot of work that might not have those key measures or tangible ways to measure success. So there's another differentiator. I am an advocate for key metrics and measures, so it's really important. However, we are human, and so those human skills sometimes aren't always easily as measured and metric, but we can definitely measure those, and it's important. Another area that is very different from the workplace and in business compared to athletes, coaching is very accepted. It is the norm, where in the workplace and in business, we often see coaching as either a luxury, if an executive or someone in the making, just needs to kind of, there's some skill sets or some coaching. They will invest in hiring a professional coach for that high potential leader or that recognized executive that will require it because of the capacity and the responsibility they have. And so there's this, luxury or this privilege that comes with coaching. I've also noticed that coaching can be this very consequential, if you're not performing. So if you're not performing, it's like the punitive view on coaching. So if you're not performing, we give you more coaching. Or if you're a top performer and we want you to get better, we'll give you more coaching. There is coaching them in between, but it is not as actively or advocated for or utilized. So again, but when we think about athletes in the sports world, wow, like they're constantly being coached, even during a game while the game is being played. The coach is helping with plays, and giving them feedback, whether it's in their ears or as they come off the court. The coach is actively there, play by play. We don't have that in the workplace or in the business world. So those are some things I just want us to be mindful of. And when I think about those three things that I just talked about, the difference is like, wow, what we can do in the workplace to improve upon our performance, our ability to bring our best work, our best impact, and the results that we strive for. There's, small tweaks that we can make to improve that, increase training and development and investment in your people. Look at the measures and how you're measuring. And finally, coaching, an active play-by-play, active coaching role that they can take to improve in performance. So let's talk about the three takeaways. So the first is this idea of coaching, but coaching, especially in business, we look at coaching as this opportunity to help an employee or individual explore what their way forward is. So they might be stuck, they could be having a problem. And as a coach, we're asking open-ended questions, helping them, self-identify where they might be getting stuck and in the way, and how they can move forward, helping them brainstorm some ideas. You might suggest some ideas, but we're really looking to them to identify the problem, explore possible solutions. You being really a facilitator of that conversation. You're helping them through your questions, you're listening, and maybe leaning in on your gut or your intuition, because there might be something that they're not saying that you're hearing below the waterline. So that's that part of coaching. So we want to keep that separate from this part that I want to talk about, which is what we see in sports, and that's feedback. Feedback is an element of coaching, and that is the prominent type of coaching we see sports coaches demonstrate in the arena, on the ball court. And this idea of feedback, where they're constantly giving feedback, what are they doing well, what they need to improve, all of those things. And we weren't really taught how to give feedback. Maybe you've been very lucky to take a course or read a book on how to give feedback, but also how to receive feedback. Uh, you know, we love getting positive feedback, but constructive or critical feedback, it can be disheartening. We don't know how to take it. We're getting feedback we didn't ask for. And so, but the importance of feedback is the fact that it helps us improve our skills. It helps us improve our outcomes. It helps us improve results. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we did a webinar on workplace engagement, and we'll have a link in the show notes below. So if you want to tune into that webinar to get more of the insights that I was sharing on that webinar, where we talked about the gap in workplace engagement. Now, one of the triggers, or one of the contributors rather, to workplace disengagement is actually the role of the manager. That the manager has an incredible impact on employees' experience at work. And unfortunately, one of the worst parts of an employee's day is the time they spend with their manager. Like I can say, how disheartening is that? But when a manager offers feedback to an employee on a consistent basis, that engagement rate increases threefold. And so compared to the person that doesn't get feedback, whether they don't get it or they get feedback once a year. And so employees are craving feedback. They want to know, you want to know, as a leader, you want to know, how you're doing, what you can improve. But what we need to be improving on is, one, the effectiveness and the efficiency of how we're delivering feedback, but also educating and enlightening ourselves and the culture we are creating in our organizations around the value of feedback, and that it is not punitive. It is not coming from a place of judgment, and it's not coming from a place of critique. It's coming from this earnest place to help the person who you're offering feedback to, how they can improve, so they can bring their best selves, they can bring their brilliant difference, so they can really shine and add the value and the impact that they're here to do in their role and in their workplace. So feedback, supremely important on workplace engagement, but also the active role it plays in improving performance, outcomes, and results. Now, when I was at the Kentucky 3-day event, the best weekend ever of the year, There was a clinic where they had a coach who had 6 horses and 6 riders. They were retired thoroughbred horses that they were now, so they were race horses at one time, and now they were teaching them a new skill, a new discipline. They were teaching them how to jump, how to do this thing called show jumping. And what was interesting was the amount of feedback. Like, so he had 6 riders going around making these jumps. And, he'd be saying, like, I love it. That's great. Oh, that's impulsive. You can do that better. And it was just amazing to watch the receiving of that feedback and the candidness that the coach had in offering that feedback. And I was just sitting there in this moment of just thinking about, imagine what that would be like at the workplace when, you hear, I love it. That's great. Keep going. That's wonderful. We love hearing that. But what if you heard, that's impulsive? Or, a little more, resistance, or hold back, or you're leaning in too much. You need to resist and hold back. And I know those words can actually apply to the workplace, but also they're more on the horse. But if we were hearing that type of feedback, what might happen? And at one point, he had said to one of the riders, the rider had done a run, and didn't do it successfully, and she says to him, "Do you want me to do that again?" And he says, "Of course, I want you to do that again. That wasn't good enough." So imagine at work, you know, your coach, your leader, and your, coaching someone, and one, you said that. Two, let's say you're on the receiving end of that, what that would be like. You'd be crushed. You might, there might be those isolated people that might be like, all right, can't wait. Let me go try it again. But for the most part, that would really crush someone. And as I reflected on it, I didn't think of it as really being harsh. The environment that I was set up in there, the culture of the horse world, the coach and the reputation, the rapport the coach had built before that. There were all these things that had happened that had made that feedback accepted and receptive. So it was very accepted because of the agreements they had made that, this clinic, you're going to get feedback. I'm going to give you specific feedback. Who this coach was and the rapport and the relationship he had with the riders. So all of that context was set beforehand. But even with all the context, I'm going to repeat that again. Like, should I do that again? Yes, you need to, because that wasn't good enough. And one of the things that I walked away with was that oftentimes when we hear feedback, and let's say we got very candid feedback like that feedback would get personalized in how we felt about ourselves, that, oh, I'm not good enough. And that wasn't the intent of the feedback. The coach wasn't, making an assessment or judgment on the person, on their character, on their value or their worth. It was an assessment on the skill that they were demonstrating in that moment. And so we really have to be able to separate when we're getting feedback. Are you getting feedback on who you are, your character, you as a person, your value and your worth? And you're not. You're getting feedback on the skill and the demonstration and the behavior of how that skill was, the demonstration of it, but also the impact and the result of it. And we're getting feedback on the knowledge, the skill, the ability that we're demonstrating. So that was a really huge aha for me. The sense that when we get feedback, it's not assessment on you, who you are as a person. You are already worthy. You already are inherently valuable. And what you're getting feedback on, even constructive or critical feedback, is on how you can actually be better. And so that was like this big aha I had. And I want you to think about your feedback and when you receive feedback. When you get feedback, are you taking that internally and making it personal? Are you assessing that as something to say about who you are? Or are you looking at that feedback and saying, all right, I got to get better at this thing. Got to get better at selling. I got to get better at leading. I got to improve my presentation skills or my influencing skills or my communication skills, and really looking at it from that perspective. So I want you to, the takeaway from this piece is to really just, shift your mindset, to look at this when you get feedback, to really understand that it isn't a testament to your worth or value, but you're getting some insight and intel on a point of view that you don't have access to. That's an external point of view on how you can improve and improve on that skill and get it better. And how lucky are you to be able to get that. The third takeaway that I wanted to share with you is when we were watching the show jumping. And so this was the stadium was filled. I don't know, it was, thousands, there's thousands of people there. They were filled, and we were watching the riders jump, maybe it was about 10 or 12 jumps, and they would jump. And every time, they'd be successful and do a clear run of these jumps, at the end, we'd be applauding and, go like, it was like thumping in the stadium, and we'd be roaring with cheer for them. And we were really part of that experience with them as a rider. When they would fail or, hit a rail, which in that moment would be, a failure, the rail would fall. You would just hear, it was like, so quiet, like you can hear a pin drop. And then, like all of us just felt the pain of when, something went wrong and a rail fell. And that was just consistent no matter which rider came up. We weren't biased that, some riders, there were, super fans there. We were super fans of our Canadian riders there. So there was extra cheer for those riders. And we were a little bit louder for them. But overall, everyone was cheering for the riders. And when a rail fell or something didn't go right, we felt it in the audience. And it made me think about so many times when I'd go out and deliver a workshop or present on stage, how nervous I would feel and, how anxious I would get because I really, really wanted to do a good job. And it often felt like I had this audience in front of me that would be judging and assessing what I'd be saying, if it was, valuable, how I'd say it, how I'd tell a story. And I'd internalize it and it turned my knickers into a knot even more. And I was thinking about this. It's like um, there was one point where I don't know if I read it or if a coach had said it to me, but they said something like the audience is on your side. Like the audience is on your side. And being in the audience over the weekend and being part of that experience of how we were so invested in the rider and the horse, that they do well, that they bring their best. And when they had a rail fall, how we felt the pain too. It made me think about, in the work that we do, that we're not alone, that you always have someone cheering for you. So whether it's your clients when you're making that big proposal, or if you're going out and doing a presentation, whether it's on stage or in front of your senior leaders, because you've got to get buy-in on some budgeting for a project, they are rooting for you. They want you to succeed because also if you succeed, they succeed. And so we go into these high pressure moments where there's this sense that we'll be judged, that will be criticized, will be assessed. And yes, that's going to happen, but not in the sense that we think that they're looking for us to fail or go wrong and pinpoint those moments and those opportunities. Like we are doing that for them. Like we don't even have to worry about them doing it for us, but to really look at that they are there cheering us on, that they want us to shine and do good and succeed and deliver that big positive outcome and result that we are so desiring. So that is, again, I want you to think about, as you look at the pressure environments that you might be putting yourself or you get invited to, because you're going to be invited to do an edge move. You're going to be doing an edge move. I want you to think about that they are on your side, that they are walking it, talking it, feeling it with you, just as much as you are in it for yourself. So let me summarize what we talked about. We talked about number one, the importance of feedback. That if you want to get better, if you want to improve, if you want your brilliant difference to shine, if you want to figure out how to improve on the knowledge, the skills, the abilities, how do you harness the power of your brilliant difference, that talent and that impact that you're here to bring, you got to look for feedback. It is important. It's one of the critical aspects of coaching that you need in order to improve that. So if you're a leader listening to this or watching this, I want you to look at that for yourself as a leader, but also look at that how you can add that value to your team and help them be better because of the feedback that you get to provide in that coaching opportunity. The second is when you get feedback, when it's critical, when it's when someone's assessing that you didn't do it good enough or at your best, it's not a testament to your worth or your value. Don't take it personally. It's really about the skill and your desire to improve it and to get better at it. And that individual's giving you the feedback that they're observing. Now you can object and you can say, no, I don't see it. I don't know it. This is not a fact of what you're saying, but, or you can look at it and say, okay, maybe you are because you don't have that lens in on it. And that's that value of feedback that we have. And then finally, realize you're not going it alone, that you have, your team, your leaders, your clients, that everybody is rooting for you, that we are with you, feeling your success and the joy of it and wanting you to succeed. And when things don't go as planned, that ouchie we're feeling it along with you. So thank you for tuning in. If you want to be better at using this skill of coaching and feedback and really understanding how you can improve it for yourself, or if you're a leader of a team, I've got this resource for you. Head on over to fincainc.com/coaching sheet. Now, this is your brilliant coaching questionnaire that we've created. And we've got 5 aspects of either you can use this for self-discovery and you can self-coach your way through this, or if you're a leader, use this as a coaching tool to help you coach better, provide feedback, and really to cultivate your team's brilliant difference. So thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Bye for now.